The text came through while I was helping my daughter with her science project. She was 10, focused intently on building a miniature solar panel system for her school presentation. My son, 8, sat nearby reading about marine biology, occasionally showing me pictures of deep-sea creatures he found fascinating. It was a typical Saturday afternoon in our home, peaceful and productive. Stay away from the family reunion, the message read. Nobody wants you or your poor children there. It was from my older brother, Marcus. Direct. Told. Exactly like him. We had grown up in a household that valued appearances above almost everything else. My parents had built their lives around maintaining a certain image in their social circle. The right cars, the right neighborhood, the right clubs. Marcus had absorbed these values completely, marrying into wealth and spending his weekends at country clubs and charity galas that were more about being seen than about actual charity. I had taken a different path. After college, I started small, buying a struggling duplex and learning property management through trial and error. My parents had called it beneath me. Marcus had laughed openly at family dinners, asking when I was going to get a real career, instead of being a landlord. But I had seen something they hadn't. Real estate, managed correctly with a focus on actual value rather than flash, could build substantial wealth quietly. While Marcus was financing luxury cars and designer clothes to maintain appearances, I was reinvesting profits, expanding slowly and learning the business from the ground up. I set my phone down carefully, not wanting to disturb the peaceful afternoon. My daughter looked up briefly, noticed my expression, then returned to her work. She had learned not to ask about my family anymore. The questions had stopped around her 7th birthday, when I explained why grandparents and uncles never visited. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Marcus. I'm serious. The family has discussed it. Your lifestyle is an embarrassment. Showing up with kids in discount store clothes would ruin the photos. Mom agrees. Dad agrees. Everyone agrees. I read it twice. The reunion was scheduled for next weekend at the Grandview Resort, about 40 miles from our suburban home. Marcus had sent a group message 3 months ago announcing the dates. I hadn't responded then, simply noting it in my calendar. My son looked over. Is everything okay? Everything's fine, I said, ruffling his hair. Keep reading. He smiled and returned to his book about octopuses. I walked to my home office, a small converted bedroom where I handled my business affairs. The desk was neat and organized, just a laptop and a few folders. I opened my email and scrolled through recent messages from my property management company, the Grandview Resort. I had purchased it 6 years ago through an LLC, part of a broader investment strategy that had proven remarkably successful. The property had been struggling, mismanaged by the previous owners who couldn't adapt to changing hospitality trends. I had seen potential where others saw risk. The purchase required careful negotiation. The resort sat on prime land but had outdated facilities and a reputation for poor service. I spent months analyzing the market, understanding what travelers actually wanted versus what the previous owners assumed they wanted. The key insight was simple. People valued genuine comfort and excellent service over superficial luxury. I invested in staff training, upgraded the technology infrastructure, renovated rooms with quality materials rather than expensive finishes, and rebuilt the restaurant around local ingredients and authentic cuisine. Within 3 years, the resort was profitable. Within 5, it was one of the highest-rated properties in the region. Nobody in my family knew. They had stopped asking about my work years ago, back when I was building my first businesses. My father had called my entrepreneurial efforts playing around. My mother had suggested I get a real job with benefits. Marcus had been the loudest critic, mocking every venture and every calculated risk. The irony was that Marcus worked in middle management at a company where he complained constantly about office politics and limited advancement opportunities. He made decent money, but most of it went toward maintaining the lifestyle he believed necessary for his status. Meanwhile, I had quietly built a portfolio that generated substantial passive income while giving me time to be present for my children. So I stopped sharing. Stopped attending family dinners where my efforts were dismissed. Stopped trying to explain that the long hours and careful planning were building something substantial. I called the resort manager, a competent woman named Patricia who had been with the property for 4 years. Patricia, I need you to handle something for me, I said calmly. There's a family reunion booked for next weekend under the name Marcus Whitmore. I need that reservation cancelled and access restricted. There was a brief pause. Cancelled completely? Yes. Refund the deposit minus the cancellation fee per our standard policy. Then block any future bookings from that name or associated family members. Understood. I'll process this immediately. Thank you. I hung up and returned to the living room. My daughter had successfully connected her solar panel to a small LED light. She beamed with pride as it flickered to life. It works, she exclaimed. I knew it would, I said. You're brilliant. My phone rang 20 minutes later. Marcus. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to the message. What the hell did you do? His voice was frantic, angry. The resort just called and canceled our reservation. They said it came from the owner. Do you know the owner? Did you complain about us? Call me back immediately. I deleted the message. Another call came 10 minutes later. Then another. Text messages started flooding in, from my mother, my father, Marcus again, my Aunt Linda. All confused, angry, demanding explanations. I sent a single text to Marcus. I received your message about the reunion. I've handled it accordingly. He called within seconds. I answered. What did you do? He demanded. I closed access to the venue, I said simply. You can't just close access to a resort. Who do you think you are? The owner. Silence. Long, heavy silence. You're lying, he finally said. I'm not. The Grandview Resort has been mine for 6 years. I purchased it through Highland Properties LLC. Patricia can verify this, or you can check the property records at the county office. They're public. More silence. You own a resort? His voice had changed, uncertain now. I own several properties. The resort was a good investment. It's done well. Several properties? Yes. The hotel chain in the downtown district. The conference center on State Street. The vacation rental properties near the lake. The small shopping plaza on Jefferson Avenue. Should I continue? I could hear him breathing on the other end of the line. How is that possible? He asked, his voice smaller now. You drive a 10-year-old sedan. Your kids wear clothes from regular stores. You live in a normal suburban house. Exactly, I said. I drive a reliable car that's paid off. My kids wear durable, comfortable clothes. I live in a house that's the right size for our family and has excellent schools nearby. I don't spend money proving to others that I have money. That's the difference between us, Marcus. You've spent the last 15 years performing wealth. I've spent it building it. But the reunions, the holidays, you always seemed so what? Poor, unsuccessful. That's what you wanted to see. It confirmed your narrative that you had made better choices, that your way was the right way. It never occurred to any of you that I was successful on my own terms. Dad always said you were wasting your potential. Dad measured potential by how impressive someone's job title sounds at cocktail parties. I measured it by whether I was building something sustainable and whether I had time for my kids. We had different definitions. The silence stretched between us. I could hear voices in the background on his end, probably his wife asking what was happening. The family is going to want to know about this, he finally said. That's up to you what you tell them. But understand something clearly, Marcus. I'm not interested in suddenly being welcomed into the fold now that you know I'm wealthy. I'm not interested in being the success story you parade around to your friends. I made my choices deliberately and I'm happy with them. What I'm not happy with is my children being insulted. Why didn't you tell anyone? He asked. You stopped asking about my work 8 years ago. You called my first business venture a joke. My second one a waste of time. After a while, I realized you weren't interested in what I was actually building. You were interested in maintaining a narrative where I was failing and you were succeeding. That's not fair. You texted me this morning to tell me my children weren't welcome because we're poor. Those were your exact words. My poor children. I didn't know. You didn't ask. None of you asked. You saw that I lived modestly, drove a practical car, bought my kids normal clothes, and assumed I was struggling. It never occurred to you that I simply don't value the same status symbols you do. My daughter appeared in the doorway, holding her science project carefully. Dad, can you help me write the explanation cards? I'll be right there, I told her. Into the phone I said, I need to go. My daughter needs help with her project. Wait, Marcus said quickly. Can we talk about this? The reunion is important. Mom and Dad wanted everyone together. You should have thought about that before excluding my children. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Are you sorry you said it, or sorry that you were wrong about my financial situation? He didn't answer. That's what I thought, I said. Goodbye, Marcus. I ended the call and turned off my phone. The next morning I received an email from my mother. Subject line: please reconsider. The message was long and apologetic, explaining that Marcus had made a terrible mistake, that the family didn't really feel that way, that of course my children were welcome, that they all wanted me there. I read it carefully, then drafted a response. Mom, I appreciate you reaching out. However, this isn't just about the reunion. For 8 years, you and Dad have dismissed my work, my choices, and my values. You've suggested I was failing because I didn't display wealth the way you expected. You've made my children feel unwelcome at family events because we don't dress in designer clothes or drive luxury cars. This pattern has been consistent and hurtful. The reunion comment was simply the final, clear example of a long-standing problem. I need you to understand that I've been successful by my own definition. I built businesses that employ people, provide services, and generate sustainable income. I've done this while prioritizing time with my kids and maintaining the values I believe in. I don't need your approval anymore, but I do need respect. Until that changes, I think it's better if we maintain some distance. I sent it and felt a weight lift. My father called that afternoon. I answered. Your mother is very upset, he said. I understand. She says you own the resort. I do. And other properties? Yes. Why didn't you tell us? Would it have mattered if you didn't believe I had value regardless of my financial status? He was quiet for a moment. That's a fair question. I love you and Mom, I said. But I can't keep subjecting my children to an environment where they're judged for not having expensive things. They're good kids, smart, kind, curious. They deserve better than being called poor as an insult. Marcus was out of line. Marcus was clear. He said the family discussed it. That suggests this wasn't just his opinion. Another pause. We may have had conversations about appearances. About wanting things to look nice for the photos. There it is, I said quietly. I think we owe you an apology. A real one. I think you do too. But apologies need to come with changed behavior. I'm not interested in one conversation where everyone says sorry and then returns to the same patterns. That's fair, he said. Can I ask you something? Of course. Are you happy? With your life, your work, your choices? The question surprised me. Yes. Very happy. My kids are thriving. My businesses are stable. I have time for the things that matter to me. I'm exactly where I want to be. Then I think we've been looking at this all wrong, he admitted. We measured your success by our standards instead of yours. That's a good realization, I said. Could we try again? Maybe not the reunion, but something smaller. Just you and your kids, maybe your mom and me. Somewhere neutral. I considered it. Maybe. Let me think about it. That's all I can ask. We talked for a few more minutes, carefully, both of us navigating new territory. When we hung up, I felt cautiously optimistic. That evening, I took my kids to their favorite pizza place. We sat in a corner booth and they told me about their days, their projects, their friends. My daughter explained her science teacher's reaction to the solar panel project. My son described a documentary about deep-sea exploration he wanted to watch. They were happy, secure, unaware of the family drama that had unfolded. My phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. Reservation canceled as requested. Family member attempted to book under a different name. Blocked per your instructions. All set. I texted back. Thank you. Well handled. My son looked up from his pizza. Dad, can we go hiking this weekend? Absolutely, I said. Where do you want to go? The trail with the waterfall. The one we went to last summer. Perfect. We'll pack sandwiches and make a day of it. My daughter smiled. Can I bring my camera? Of course. They returned to their food, chatting about the hike, what they might see, whether we'd spot any wildlife. I watched them, these two incredible kids who had taught me what actually mattered. They didn't need a family reunion with people who judged them. They needed stability, love, and parents who showed up for them consistently. My phone buzzed again. Marcus, can we please talk? I really messed up. I typed back. Not right now. I'm with my kids. His response came quickly. I understand. When you're ready. I set the phone aside and focused on my children. The rest could wait. Some things were more important than family drama. More important than proving points or demanding apologies. Sometimes the best response was simply living well, protecting the people who mattered most, and refusing to compromise on the values that defined who you were. My daughter reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Thanks for pizza night, Dad. Anytime, I said, squeezing back. And I meant it.